Have you ever stared at a blank wall and thought, where do I even begin? What if I told you that painting your room could be one of the most rewarding DIYs you'll ever try? And you don't need to be a pro to do it. Hi, and welcome to Home and Garden Borneo, where everyday ideas turn into something extraordinary. In today's video, we're diving into how to paint a room, DIY for beginners. We'll walk through common mistakes, simple tips, and essential aftercare you don't want to miss. This video is fully time-stamped. Feel free to skip to any part you need. And if there's a particular DIY tutorial you'd like to see more in-depth, just leave a comment below. I often share bonus guides and step-by-step follow-ups in our community tab. Keep an eye on it. You might see hundreds of videos every day, and to you, maybe I'm just another voice among many. But behind this screen is a quiet corner of the world, a small family with big dreams, and a heart that beats for sharing simple, beautiful things. When you like, comment, or subscribe, it's more than numbers. You're lighting up this journey, one spark at a time. You're reminding a family, my family, that the dream is still worth chasing. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for believing in small beginnings. If this video meant something to you, please know that subscribing means the world to me. You're not just supporting content, you're supporting a dream that keeps my family going. Thank you, truly. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you enjoy the most? Is there anything I could do better to keep inspiring or simply entertaining you? Your feedback helps this channel grow with heart and purpose. Let me know in the comments. I read every one. One, essential DIY painting tools for beginners. There's a particular kind of quiet that settles in a room before a project begins. The hallway is still. Light from an open door reaches across the floor, brushing over a blue tarp laid out like a painter's altar. Every tool has been placed with care: angled brushes, roller cages, sanding pads, utility knives, and two long extension poles resting patiently, waiting for the first movement. A compact ladder leans nearby, its steps inviting. Nothing feels rushed here. Nothing feels complicated. This isn't a set on a renovation show or a perfectly filtered moment from a glossy ad. This is the start of something real. In another corner of the house, light filters through sheer white curtains, gently resting on a soft cloth where tools lie scattered. Slightly used, slightly stained, entirely honest. A roller sits beside a paint tray that remembers yesterday's brush. A sanding sponge catches the light, its texture rough yet promising. Everything feels natural, lived in, approachable. This is what DIY truly looks like: imperfect, personal, and full of small, deliberate choices. And then, as morning stretches forward, the light shifts again. Shadows cross the wooden floor. Tools once clean now carry specks of dried paint and stories of walls changed over time. Another tray, another roller, a sanding block. This time the paint grid rests nearby like a gate between ideas and action. The ladder is unfolded now, ready. There is no rush in these scenes, only rhythm. The rhythm of preparation, of checking the wall's surface with your fingertips, of wiping dust away before it settles again. These are not just steps, they are rituals. You feel them in your hands, in your breath. You don't need professional hands or expensive gear to begin. What you see here, what we share, is simply inspiration drawn from real, achievable moments. This is not instruction carved in stone, but an invitation. A gentle idea that maybe, just maybe, you can do this too. And we believe you can. Let these visuals serve not as a checklist, but as encouragement. A kind reminder that transformation doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to begin. After all, a painted room is never just about color. It's about courage, care, and the quiet joy of doing something for yourself. Two, how to paint without tape like a pro. It begins with a hand, steady, focused, deliberate. A brush moves across a corner of the wall, no tape in sight. Only the whisper of bristles finding their path along the trim. This is the quiet power of painting freehand, the art of trust between hand and wall, between eye and intention. The ivory white line against beige is clean, confident, and honest. Not perfect, but alive. Down the hallway, a man stands calmly beneath warm overhead light. He isn't racing against time, nor performing for a camera. He paints at his own pace, pressing the brush into edges where others might lay tape. There's a stillness in the way he moves, a kind of rhythm that only comes when you let go of the need for shortcuts and simply trust your tools. This isn't about skipping steps. It's about learning to rely on your skill. With practice, your hand can do what masking tape tries to promise, but with more soul. The light pouring through the door behind him doesn't stage the scene. It merely watches, like sunlight always does in real homes, where real people try things on their own. Another brush lifts toward a corner between ceiling and wall. The paint glides gently, like a signature being written into the room. No taping, no marking, just attention, patience, and quiet repetition. And maybe, for you, this is the moment to realize it's doable. This isn't a trick or a secret held by professionals. It's just a bit of practice, a steady arm, and the willingness to try. These ideas are here to guide you, not to instruct, but to inspire. What you see is achievable, grounded, and meant for someone like you who dares to pick up the brush. There will be mistakes, and there will be moments you step back and smile because the line is straighter than you thought it could be. And that's the point. That's the beauty of doing it yourself. So take a breath. Let the tape stay in the drawer this time. And paint, not because you need it perfect, but because you're ready to see what you can do with just your hands and your trust. Three, perfect paint cutting for ceilings and trim. There's a quiet kind of precision in this moment, a brush gently tracing the line between two worlds. Ceiling and wall, trim and paint, intention and execution. The hand doesn't tremble, it simply moves, one stroke at a time, defining space with care, not tape. Just a well-worn angled brush and a soft sense of focus. The beige and white divide like a whispered boundary. Subtle, confident, clean. And in this intimate distance between color and edge, something unexpectedly meditative begins to take shape. Down lower, near the baseboard, that same hand glides again, only this time with the earth beneath. The brush moves along the trim, forming a steady rhythm against the floor. No masking tape, no ruler, just balance and breath, and maybe a bit of music playing in another room. The shadow of the stroke follows softly behind, catching sunlight from a nearby window. Then there's the delicate dance around a light switch, where patience meets utility. A steady hand brushes along the plate's edge, trimming color into a perfect frame. These moments remind us that painting isn't only about broad strokes and bold statements. It's also about slowing down, noticing the small things, and caring enough to do them well. This isn't a tutorial, it's a window into what's possible. What you see here is not beyond your reach. These are simple, honest ideas that you can try in your own home. They don't require fancy tools or professional hands, just the willingness to start and the courage to learn by doing. Even if your lines aren't perfect at first, they will get better. You'll find your rhythm. You'll feel the difference between painting with rush and painting with presence. So take your time. Let your hands lead. Let the wall become a canvas not for perfection, but for progress. Because sometimes, all it takes to transform a space is simply choosing to begin. Four best paint types for interior DIY walls. Every wall begins as a question. What will this color say? What feeling will it hold? Will it glow with softness in the morning sun, or carry warmth into the quiet of evening? In one hand, a can of paint, light, simple, labeled washable finish. In the background, a single square of color already brushed onto the wall. It's soft, calm, and promising. The kind of hue you don't just see, but sense. A shade that invites you to touch the wall, to live beside it. It's not flashy, it's just right. Across the room, sunlight pours through the window. A tin of satin finish paint sits quietly on a cloth, its lid resting nearby like an open invitation. The light dances on the floor, casting subtle shadows across the brush and roller placed as if someone just stepped out to admire their progress. In this space, nothing feels rushed. Choosing paint is not a task, it's a moment of intention. And then, further along, a wall becomes a canvas of choices. Flat, eggshell, satin, semi-gloss. Each square of finish catches the daylight differently, reflecting its own personality. Matte whispers, satin hums, semi-gloss almost smiles. There's no right or wrong, only what feels like you. If you've never chosen paint before, don't worry. This story isn't about making perfect decisions. It's about understanding what's possible. These ideas are shared not as strict guidelines, but as grounded, creative inspiration, meant to be adapted by anyone willing to try. You don't need to be a designer or decorator. You just need to care about the feeling your room gives you. And that's why the right paint matters, not because of the name on the label, but because of how it lives on your walls, how it responds to the light, and how it holds up to life. Some finishes clean easier. Some hide imperfections better. Some reflect more joy when the sun finds them through the window. This process, as simple as it may seem, is a quiet form of self-expression. You are shaping the atmosphere of the space you come home to, and all it takes to begin is a brush, a can of paint, and the courage to try. Let this be your reminder. You can do this. And the beauty of it, you get to decide exactly how your walls will feel. Five. Why sanding before painting matters. Before color touches the wall, there's a rhythm that begins in silence. Sanding is the part no one talks about, but the wall always remembers. It's the difference between a surface that simply hides behind color and one that invites you to run your hand along it, feeling nothing but smooth confidence. In the soft light of a morning window, a hand presses against the wall, gently gliding a sanding sponge across dried patches. You can almost hear the hush of grit meeting plaster, a delicate scraping that's not aggressive but careful, almost respectful. There are bumps here, uneven lines, scars from time. And yet, with every pass, they begin to fade. Dust lifts in the light like flecks of memory. The brush rests nearby, waiting. The sanding block, weathered and honest, holds the weight of repetition. This is the beauty of prep work. It's quiet, unglamorous, but full of intention. Later, another hand reaches for a powered sander, smoothing larger areas with a steady pace. Not rushed, not careless, just present, focused. The glow from the window highlights where the surface is changing. What was once rough now shows a soft, dulled finish. The wall isn't perfect yet, but it's listening. It's ready. Sanding isn't just for professionals. It's a humble gesture anyone can do, with patience, with touch, and yes, a bit of dust. But this effort, this time spent preparing, is what brings polish to the paint that follows. Without it, even the best paint won't sit quite right. But with it, walls feel cared for. The tips I share here are just thoughtful inspiration, based on simple methods that truly work and can be done at home. They're not rules carved in stone. Instead, they're guideposts, easy to follow, practical to try, and crafted for everyday people who just want to make their space feel better. So if you're preparing a room for its next chapter, take the time to sand. Breathe with it. Feel the change beneath your palm. Because sometimes, transformation begins not with color, but with the care you show the surface beneath it. Six. How to use a roller stick for smooth wall finish. There's something grounding about staying close to the floor while still reaching high. With a roller stick in hand, there's no need to climb. No shaky ladders. Just a quiet rhythm as paint glides upward, smooth, uninterrupted. In one image, the painter leans slightly back, arms lifted but relaxed, tracing a wide arc across the upper wall. Daylight pours through the window like approval, catching the subtle texture left behind. The pole extends gently, not rushed. This is painting with grace, not strain. There's beauty in how the wall absorbs each stroke evenly. No roller marks, no missed patches. Just color meeting surface like a slow inhale. In a tighter hallway, the same tool works wonders, gliding vertically between narrow walls, giving reach without discomfort. The wet paint shines softly, reflecting light in a way that says, this wall is becoming something new, something chosen. And in another corner, someone paints in jeans and sneakers, nothing fancy, nothing curated. Just real, tangible effort. A light blue hue climbs upward while a soft cloth and scattered brushes rest nearby. It's not about perfection. It's about making something feel more like yours. These scenes aren't sets. They're not styled or staged. They represent practical ideas, ones that many people can try at home without special skills or expensive tools. Think of this not as a tutorial, but as a nudge, a small invitation to start, to reach, to change a space with your own two hands. Because that's the heart of it. You don't have to be a professional to paint a wall beautifully. You just need the right angle, a steady motion, and a little bit of patience. The tips shared here are grounded in everyday reality, approaches that make sense, that feel manageable, and that aim to inspire action without intimidation. You might adapt them, change them, make them better. That's part of the magic. So extend the pole. Press gently. Let the paint speak softly across the surface. Not everything has to be fast. Some transformations are meant to unfold at the pace of your breath. Seven, DIY painting. Master the wet edge method. There is an invisible rhythm to painting well. It doesn't come from speed or even technique, it comes from flow. In the soft hush of a sunlit room, a roller glides along the wall. The painter is not rushing, but there's no pause either. The secret is in timing, keeping the wet edge alive, never letting it dry before the next stroke meets it. You can almost feel the pressure in the stillness, the awareness in each movement. In the close-up, we see the moment of truth. Paint meeting paint, fresh layers kissing the still wet ones before they harden. This is where even amateurs can create a professional-looking finish. No streaks, no sharp edges, just one seamless coat, united by care and continuity. Another frame captures the painter from behind, arm extended, roller moving steadily across a wide surface. Outside the window, trees sway gently, adding a feeling of weekend calm. Inside, the wall transforms, shifting from bare to full with a soft sheen that says, almost done. This isn't about fancy tools. What you see here is a practical method, an idea that can be followed at home with patience and presence. I share these moments as gentle suggestions, ways to paint smarter, not harder. Consider them honest inspirations, grounded in real-world effort. Not everyone knows about the wet edge, but once you feel its value, how it saves you from frustration, how it smooths over your small imperfections, you'll never paint any other way again. This project wasn't built in a studio. It happened in daylight, in rooms meant for living, using tools that most people can find. That's the beauty of it. These techniques are within reach, not just visually, but in practice. So the next time you pick up a roller, watch how it moves. Let your strokes chase the wet edge. Let them meet softly, without gaps. Because in that quiet overlap, the magic happens. Eight, how to apply second coat paint for even results. There's a quiet ceremony in painting the second coat. The rush is gone. The wall is already transformed once, but this time it's about completion, about refinement, about making sure the dream you saw in your mind becomes reality on your walls. In the photo, painter stands calmly in worn jeans and white sneakers, roller in hand. A step ladder rests nearby. Nothing is staged. The room feels lived in. The light is soft, as if it understands that now is not the time for chaos, but care. A small patch of fresh cream paint begins to mask the faint memory of the first coat, and the painter knows. The difference is in the details. Applying the second coat isn't about adding more. It's about blending precisely. When the roller meets the cut-in edges near the ceiling, there's no harsh boundary, only smooth transitions, the brush strokes disappearing beneath the soft roll, as if they were never separate. The roller glides along the edges, overlapping delicately with purpose. Zoom closer, and you'll see a subtle moment. The roller hugging the wall just beside a window, catching daylight and the faint pink hue of the base underneath. The second coat doesn't scream for attention. It whispers completeness. For anyone watching, these aren't grand tricks. They're real, learnable habits. Paint slowly. Keep your edge wet. Blend your strokes like the wall is one canvas, not corners and panels. These moments I share are simply ideas, grounded, practical, and doable on your own. No big team, no cinematic setup. Just you, a roller, and a quiet Sunday afternoon. Because the magic of a second coat isn't in how bold it looks, it's in how quietly it disappears, leaving only beauty behind. Nine tips to eliminate roller and brush lines. Some things in painting are not seen, but felt, like the softness of a wall that holds no trace of the brush, or the quiet fade of a roller's pass that disappears into a perfect flatness. That's what makes a painted room feel finished, not just colored, but cared for. In this afternoon light, the room is alive with detail. A worn roller rests beside a clean, angled brush on a draped cloth. The shadows from the window fall gently across the surface, accentuating the smoothness that only comes from thoughtful hands and subtle techniques. Nothing loud here, just the honesty of a job done well. In the second image, a painter moves with gentle purpose. The roller is not heavy with paint, but controlled. They're back-rolling, a technique that's easy to miss, but essential. It smooths over the overlap lines that rollers tend to leave behind. It's a small act, like brushing over footsteps in sand, erasing the sign of movement to leave a pristine trail. Closer still, the details matter even more. Around the switch plate, a hand holds a dry brush lightly, feathering the edge where paint meets trim. The strokes are barely there, just enough to dissolve the brush line, not bold enough to notice. This is the poetry of patience. And perhaps you're wondering if this level of finesse is only for pros. It isn't. These are simple, grounded techniques that anyone can try, even on their first DIY weekend. I'm sharing this not as a professional blueprint, but as a thoughtful guide, ideas born from real-life attempts that can be repeated at home without pressure, without perfection. Because beauty in painting doesn't shout. It whispers in silence, in invisible lines, in corners that look like they were always meant to be that way. And sometimes, what you don't see is exactly what makes the room feel complete. Paint curing tips after your DIY project. There's a kind of beauty in patience. After all the effort, the taping, brushing, rolling, and cleaning, the room finally looks complete. But in truth, the transformation isn't finished yet. Not until the paint has had time to breathe, to settle, and to become part of the wall in its fullest form. In the stillness of an empty room, golden sunlight stretches across a freshly painted surface. The shadows fall gently, almost protectively, over a small note taped to the wall. Do not touch, curing. There's no furniture crowding the edges. No artwork rushed into place. Just quiet. Just waiting. Another frame, caught mid-air. A hand instinctively hesitates. The sign in the picture says wait 48 hours, but its meaning goes deeper than a number. It's about respecting the process. Knowing that even though the paint may feel dry to the touch, it's still changing within. Still soft. Still healing. Some things need space to last. And in a humble hallway, a small fan hums in the background. Its breeze isn't powerful, but it's purposeful, helping the paint to cure evenly, slowly, over the next 30 days. On the wall, a handwritten note reminds, curing in progress. The words aren't fancy, but the intention behind them is clear. Let time do its job. These are not rules for perfection. They're gestures of care, reminders that finishing a paint job is more than brushing on color. It's about protecting the work you've done, so it stays beautiful for years to come. If you're taking on your own painting project, know that this advice comes not from rigid instruction, but from experience. These are approachable ideas, shared to make your DIY journey more thoughtful and durable. Steps that anyone, anywhere, can try at home without stress. Because when you honor the time it takes to cure, you're not just painting a wall. You're creating a space that holds together, softly and surely, like the light through the window that waits with you. "11 DIY painting mistakes and how to prevent them." There's something honest about mistakes. The drip of too much paint, the rough edge where a brush skipped. They show effort. They show trying. In one frame, a face full of hesitation. Roller in hand, gloves on, eyes fixed on the wall as thick streaks of beige paint slide down in heavy trails. It's that familiar DIY moment where ambition meets gravity. The drop cloth at his feet tells another story. Paint splatters like punctuation marks of a lesson still in progress. Another image captures the quiet drama between precision and error. Two wall sockets, one sloppily smudged, its edges bleeding color. The other clean and sharp, outlined like a finished sentence. A small brush lies in between, its bristles hardened, its handle chipped. The difference? Just a moment of control. A decision not to rush. And then there's the wall, divided like a before and after book. One side streaked and patchy under a square of sunlight. The other smooth, balanced, like still water. Tools rest on the floor, as if left mid-thought. Not abandoned, but paused, waiting for another try. These visuals aren't meant to discourage. They are reminders. Everyone starts somewhere, and there's always room to improve. In sharing these little glimpses, I hope to offer inspiration that feels possible, not distant. The kind of help that fits into an afternoon, a weekend, a real life. This isn't expert advice. It's a collection of small, sincere lessons. Just a few ideas you might borrow and shape into your own story at home.